I don't know nobody on this road that can save your soul. Almost lost control now. Tell me what you need in a friend and now. Pray that we endure to the end again. I'm just saying that I'm here for you. When the world turn against you, I'ma be with you. Got my sword in my hand, you can count on me. I won't run and hide, fight mightily.
Waiting on your house shot. See the Jacob, I'm the apple of my father's eye. I learned the truth for who I was and it made me cry. If I don't keep the laws of Yah, then I'm gonna die. Living curses, but I'm edifying in my verses. Prepare the hearses for the heathens who be steady.
Shalom, shalom, Israel. All praise to the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, the strangers, the Israelites, the hopeful elect scattered throughout the four corners of the world. Greetings to the elect according to the foreknowledge of God, Yahweh the Father, the sanctification of the Spirit unto obedience, and the Hamashiach Wamalak Yahushai. Tonight we want to jump in real quick through the Spirit, a lesson on breaking down the fallen angel. Once again, a lesson through the Spirit on breaking down the fallen angel. Right? You know, there's a doctrine out here that is chiefly in Christianity, and who are teaching that Lucifer is the devil who's fallen from the third heaven and has taken and brought a third of the angels with him. And we know that according to the biblical precept, that's not the truth. That is not so. We're going to get into this through the Spirit. Once again, the fallen angels and exposing the fallen angel doctrine. So a deep breakdown of Jude 1 and 6 is revealing that the fallen angels actually refer to men who fell from their spiritual position, not supernatural beings falling from literal heaven. You know, a lot of people are under this false understanding, a lie, that you got the Most High God, Yahweh, and you have the spiritual demon Satan, which they call the devil, and that they're in heaven and they battling. But the day of Armageddon is going to be a great battle between the Most High God on this side and his host of angels, and the spiritual demon Satan on this side and his host of angels, and that they're going to be all out war. That's false. Nobody is on the Most High God's level, right? There is no God with him. He kills, he makes alive, he destroys, and so forth and so on. So we want to get into this, showing emphatically that that is a false doctrine and that's not true, right? So getting right into it, we know in the Paleo Hebrew, you have Yahweh, Yahweh, Yahweh. So the key verse is Jude 1 and 16. Now we've been going through the book of Jude. Men crept in unaware who Jude was as the brother of James and Yahushai. We've been going through who the epistle of Jude was written to and reading everything in proper context. So in continuation with that, we're in Jude 1 and 6, right? And it says, Jude 1 and verse 6. And the angels which kept not their first estate. Now this is where a lot of people get twisted up right off the bat. They think, okay, what is the angel's first estate? The angel's first estate is to follow Yahweh. So they think that, okay, well, they kept not their first estate, so they didn't follow Yahweh, so they must have turned from following Yahweh, but left their own habitation. Where do angels dwell? In the third heaven. In that context of the angelic host. So they think like, hold on, the angelic host left where they dwelled, their habitation in the third heaven, and they left their first estate, right? A estate can go into dwelling place, right? A estate can go into their boundaries, right? Where they're domiciled at. He hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. So hold on. Is this saying that the angels that kept not their first estate, but they left serving the Most High, now they're underground in hell, in fires, in the underworld, in Sheol, in Hades? and they're chained up in physical chains and darkness until the judgment day because they turned their back on Yahweh. That's what this verse is commonly misinterpreted as, right? This verse is commonly misinterpreted to mean supernatural angels fell from the literal third heaven, right? And now they're underground in hell, physically chained up, all right? Physically bound with chains. Now, with angels having celestial bodies and not terrestrial bodies, because there's some bodies celestial, right? And there's some bodies terrestrial. Now, when you think about celestial and you think about terrestrial, let's get this 1 Corinthians 15 and 40. There are also celestial bodies. All right, celestial means heavenly, not terrestrial. And bodies terrestrial. But the glory of the celestial one and the glory but the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. So when you go into this word terrestrial and celestial of the sky chiefly. Let's get this real quick. Celestial, right? And the Strong's Greek 2032. Eperanios of heaven, right? Of the sky, all right? Eperanios, look, above the sky, celestial, heavenly, right? When you go into the word terrestrial, right here, you have the root word ter, which is earth, right? Epigeos, of the earth, right? Where was man formed? Of the earth, flesh and blood, all right? Terrestrial. I'm gonna get this. Just like if you hear the terminology terra firma, I believe is how you say it. Is that Latin? Yeah, terra firma is a Latin phrase meaning firm land or solid ground, used to describe dry land as distinct from the sea, or more broadly, reliably, earthly resources like soil and rocks and fields, such as construction and landscaping. It refers to the Earth's stable surface, often used in context of travel, like after a rough flight, or as a source of fundamental building materials. And hey, look, I'm thankful to be back on terra firma, which is dry land, right? Now, when you think about this in this context, when we go back to this 1 Corinthians 15 and 40, we see that there's celestial and there's terrestrial. So angelic celestial beings or angels would not have a terrestrial body, a physical body made of the dust, made of earthly elements and things of that nature. So when we go back to this Jude 1 and 6, right? How could this Jude 1 and 6 be talking about actual angels? If they left their celestial habitation, they would have to be celestial beings, right? So if they left their celestial habitation and their apegios, I believe that's how you say the word, on terra firma, in an earthly underground place, hell, which you think it is, how could their celestial bodies be physically changed with things that are of terrestrial origin? It wouldn't make sense, right? Now, the primary reason why people misconstrue this particular verse or this particular Jude 1 and 6 is a doctrine that they created from Isaiah, the 14th chapter, right? Many use this verse to prove a supernatural angel named Lucifer fell from heaven. But let's examine the context. When we examine the context, let's see if this is talking about Lucifer fell from heaven and Lucifer now took a third of the angels. Because remember, they say things like, well, Lucifer was the minister of music. He sang very beautifully, and he was the morning star, and he fell from heaven. And because Yahweh, the Most High, kicked him out of heaven, and he took a third of the angels with him. That's not biblical, family. That is not biblical. And we're going to expose that lie, that false doctrine, that false teaching. So through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Lord willing, we can get the understanding, right? So many use this verse to prove a supernatural angel named Lucifer fell from heaven. Now, Lucifer is not even a Hebrew word. That's another thing too. Lucifer is not this is not Hebrew. The word Lucifer, all right, fell from heaven. But let's examine the context. Isaiah 14 and 12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? All right, son of the morning. How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? Now listen, if this was even talking about celestial being Lucifer falling down to the ground in context, why would it say weaken the nations? Surely they're not nations in heaven. So the context can't be talking about a celestial being among a celestial host, right? Coming to a terrestrial habitation, right? Because we know that there's no nation of angels or celestial beings. Nations goes back into being terrestrial because you have to have a forefather, you have to have a lineage, you have to have a pedigree, right? A progenitor, all right, to be from a nation. We know that angels being in 1 Corinthians 15 and 40, they're celestial being, and like Yahushua said, angels neither are given in marriage and they don't conduct and act like humans. Let's get that in Matthew 22 and 30. Or in the resurrection, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of God in heaven. Now, why was this important in Yahushua's teaching? He's teaching you that angels don't have a terrestrial body. Angels don't operate like men. Angels don't have sexual relations with each other. Angels, they don't move in that type of way. They're not given into marriage, right? How is marriage consummated? Marriage, according to the scriptures, is lawful sex. So angels can't be married according to the scriptures. They don't have lawful sex. They don't have sexual intercourse at all. They don't have terrestrial bodies. They have celestial bodies, right? This is the teachings of Yahushua. So when we see how art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations, we know that this cannot be talking about the context that this Lucifer, who's being called Lucifer here, cannot be an angel, right? Let's read on. What does Lucifer mean? In Hebrew, Halel, which means light bearer, shining one, morning star. Now listen, this is a title, not a personal name, all right? It is a status title. It's kind of like in a similitude how oftentimes people hear the word more and they say, well, look, more is a nationality. Well, more is a title, okay? Oftentimes in the scriptures, making a parallel, you're going to see titles. You see Yahushua he was given many titles, all right? You see Lord is a title. It's not the Most High God's name. Yahweh is his name. Lord, when you see it in the Tetragrammaton, translate in the Hebrew, in the Tetragrammaton, YHWH Yahweh. That's the Most High's name. Lord is the title. You hear Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, he is called Lord as well, right? You see it normally stylized or typed out with capital L and the rest of it lowercase. You hear Abraham, right? On Lord. So there's Lord many, there's God many. That's a title. Lucifer likewise is a title, and we see this typology demonstrated through the scriptures in totality, from the so-called old all the way to the so-called new. Light bearer, shining one, morning star. This is a title, not a personal name. It refers to one who bears or carries light or influence. Obviously, if you're thinking about the king of Babylon, which we're going to go into, he had influence. He was the king. He was ruling a nation, right? In context, this passage is about the king of Babylon. And we can demonstrate that in Isaiah 4 and 4 to get the context of 14 and 4, Slakia. To get the context of by the time we get down to this Isaiah 14 and 12, we can get the context of who was being talked about in this parable right? Isaiah 14:4, that thou shalt take up this proverb against who? The king of Babylon, and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? Who was he oppressing? The nations. The golden city ceased. What was the golden city? Ancient Babylon. So by the time we get down to verse 12, Salakia, when it says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? Heaven is also as a state of being. We're going to go into a lesson through the Spirit, Most High willing, here shortly, where it shows that heaven goes into multiple states. Right? Sometimes heaven is a state of being, a condition of living. Sometimes it's talking about the sky, right? Sometimes it's talking about the third heaven, as far as where Yahweh dwells, right? So you have different contexts of heaven. This is Esau's heaven right now. It's his rulership. It's his state of influence. That's how we see the word hell. It says, like in the book of Jonah, I believe, is that the second or third chapter, I believe. But lucky if I misspeak, right? But in the book of Jonah, nevertheless, you have hell mentioned, right? When Jonah was in the belly of the whale, that also means a state of or condition of being. Just how we see hell also translated as Sheol, which is the grave. So just like heaven has different understandings or definitions or meanings in the application based on the context, same thing as we see in hell, same thing as we see in this Lucifer being a title, right? So bam, as we demonstrated in verse 4, it shows that Lucifer, once again in Isaiah 14:4, in case you missed it, is referring to the king of Babylon, who has been exalted. So that's why this is a proverb, right? Babylon was very idolatrous. It was an idolatrous nation. They conquered, they ruled, until they were subjected as well and overthrown, right? One of our many captivities. The light of the wicked. Let's show this, right? That the king of Babylon in Isaiah 14:4 was being cast down from his position of world power. Remember, we had multiple captivities. We had the Egyptian captivity, the Babylonian captivity, you had the Medo-Persians, you had the Assyrians, right? You had the Greeks, you had the Romans, and then you have America and the current world powers that are extension of the Roman rule. So there are multiple captivities in all of these rulerships. You have prominent nations and kings who are in a rulership position as world powers, and they exalt themselves above the name of the Most High in their mind. Now, truly, no one can exalt themselves above the name of the Most High in actual reality, but in the deception of their mind and the reprobate understanding that they have, they think that they propel themselves over the Most High. Why do you think even in Egypt, the Pharaoh was calling himself the morning star, right? Same type of situation when you see Lucifer being a title, the light bearer, attested to the king of Babylon, not to the spiritual demon Satan, all right? So when you see Lucifer kicked out of heaven and all of these doctrines, that's not biblical, family. Moving on. Revelations 18:23. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorcery were all nations deceived. Just how it said right here, how thou didst weaken the nation. How did ancient Babylon weaken the nation? The sorcery, idolatry, the commercial trade. It was a great trading center, all right, in ancient Babylon. I want to get this really quick to prove all things, right? Ancient Babylon, one of the 7 wonders of the world, right? Merchant trade. So look, ancient Babylon merchants engaged in extensive trade, moving from barter using barley to a silver-based economy, facilitated Salakia, by sophisticated systems of credit. No different Then now, modern day Babylon, which is America, right? What's in modern day Babylon? Let's get this. Fractional reserve banking. Fractional reserve banking is a system where banks hold only a fraction of customer deposits and reserve, lending out the rest to create loans. What is a loan? Debt. What's another word for debt? Credit. What are dollars? Fiat currency? Debt note. You're actually extending credit, which expands the money supply and fuels economic growth, but also carries the risk like bank runs, leading central banks to regulate reserves and act as what? Lenders of last resort. So the same things that we saw in ancient Babylon, right, through their merchant transactions, buying and selling. One of my quick precepts I want to get, let me pull this up in the book of Sirach, right? It says, joining merchant, what is that precept? It says, basically paraphrasing for the sake of time, how joining sticks to how stones are stuck together by joinings is basically how sin sticks to buy and sell transactions. Sirach 27:2, right? The book of Sirach 7:27. The book of Sirach, Salakia. Let me slow down. Getting excited. 27:2. A snake is driven between cracks and stones, and sin will be wedged between selling and buying. Ancient Babylon was a very wicked place, was known for their transactions, was known for these type of things. Moving on. We see that light, that candle, that great merchant that deceived the nations through their sorceries, through their their witchcrafts, their sciences, their merchants and things of that nature. This is the book of Revelations talking about modern day Babylon, which is America, right? And look who's the top trade power in the world right now. Do you know that even oil transactions are all priced in the dollar? The dollar is, and it's been losing its power. There's new things out of Basel, Switzerland now, called Basel 9, right? I believe it's Basel. Is it Basel 2 or Basel 1 from the IBS, International Bank of Monetary Settlements, right? In Davos, Switzerland, I think. So, IBS, International Bank, all right? Not a Somalian-based Islamic bank. 1 second. Monetary settle. Right here. So the Bank of International Settlement, BIS, facilitates international monetary and financial cooperation, acting as a bank for central banks, managing their reserves, remember fractional marginal reserves, and promoting financial stability through policy analysis, research, and host committees like Basel Committee on Banking Supervision. While the BIS doesn't directly settle individual customer transactions, it provides crucial infrastructure and oversight of global financial systems, right? So fractional marginal reserve banking. Now, BIS, as you see, right, oversees, I think it's called Basel, is it Basel 3? Damn. Basel 3 is a global regulatory framework developed after the 2008 financial crisis by the Basel Committee on Banking Service, BCBS, to strengthen the bank capital, liquidity, and risk management to prevent future crises by requiring more high-quality capital, better risk coverage, and introducing leverage in liquidity ratios. Its final phase, known as the Basel III Endgame, or Basel 3.1, aims to finalize these reforms, increasing capital requirements for larger banks, applying stricter rules to trading activity, tier 1 assets, right, such as gold. Let me see this really quick. Tier 1 assets, gold, platinum, silver, and palladium. Bam. And palladium, right? Under Basel 3, specifically Basel III in-game rules implemented around July 2025. Physical gold, allocated gold bullion, is reclassified as a top-tier, high-quality liquid asset, a tier 1, treated like cash and government bonds with zero risk weighting, while silver, platinum, and palladium are generally not tier 1, but benefit from the increased demand for physical metals. Gold's new status overall metal. They have tier 1 assets. Now, why is this important? Why are you going into this? Because it ties back to how Revelations 18 and 23 shows that the merchants are being deceived by the sorceries, the commerce of this modern day Babylon, which is America. All right, reading on. The light and candle represents Babylon's philosophy, religion, and politics, the wicked light of this world system. Job 18, 5 and 6 reads, yea, the light of the wicked shall be put out, their philosophies, their religions, their politics, their economics, and the spark of his fire shall not shine. The light should be darkened in his tabernacle, and his candles should be put out with him. The Bible is parabolic, heaven as a position. So when you think about Lucifer being cast down from heaven, it does not mean the third heaven, the celestial, the abode of the sky. In context, it's talking about a status, a place of influence. Let's prove that. Once again, if we look at the phrase cast down from heaven, is parabolic language, meaning to be removed from a position of power and authority, not literally falling from the sky. Lamentations 2 and 1. How hath the Lord covered the daughter of Zion with a cloud in his anger? No cloud? No. And cast down from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel, and remembered not his footstool in the day of his anger. It's parabolic, saying the daughter of Zion, the children of Israel. We've never all been up as a nation in the sky, in a cloud in heaven. So it's parabolic. But we are that chosen nation who has the favor of Yahweh, who he's cast us down from his favor at times and subjected us to ancient Babylon, to the Assyrians, to the Egyptians, to heathen nations that have had their foot on our neck in their authority by Shem Yahushai, obviously, over us, right? Moving on. This verse is speaking about Israel being cast down from their exalted position. They were never literally in physical heaven. Lamentations 2 and 1. Matthew 11 and 23. And thou, Capernaum, which are exalted unto heaven. Capernaum is a physical place. Has that physical place ever been exalted up to the sky? La'ah means no, it hasn't. Shall be brought down to hell. Okay. As Capernaum was up in the sky, now it's underground in hell? No. For if the mighty works which have been done in thee had been done in Sodom, it would have remained until this day. This is the teaching of Yahweh. And look, if Yahweh walked in Sodom and told them to repent and show these mighty wonderful and miracles, they would have repented just how the heathens in the book of Jonah repented in Nineveh, right? Reading on. Capernaum was a city. It was never literally exalted unto heaven. The language describes its wealth, prominence, and power being brought low. Revelations 12, right? The war in heaven, all right? Going into the dragon. Some point to Revelations 12 as proof of angels falling from heaven, but examine closely, right? When it's talking about 12, 7 through 9, and there was a war in heaven, Michael and his angels fought against the dragons, and the dragons fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was there a place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. This is not tied to to Isaiah 14 and verse 12. This is talking about the dragon, right? Which earlier in this chapter, the dragon is clearly identified. Right? Revelation 2, 3, and 4. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, the great red dragon, having 7 heads, 10 horns, 7 crowns upon his heads, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, right? The 1/3, right? And did cast them to the earth, and the dragon stood before the woman, which is Israel, which was ready to be delivered, or to devour her child as soon as it was born. This does not tie with Isaiah 14th chapter, 12th verse, right? In context, you gotta start at verse 4, which shows you that goes into the king of Babylon. This is going into a deep breakdown. The dragon equals Rome. 7 heads, the 7 hills of Rome, 7 forms of government, 10 horns, 10 divisions of the Roman Empire. Before the woman, Rome ruled when Yahweh was born to devour her child. Herod under Rome tried to kill the infant Messiah Yahweh. This is speaking about Yahweh and his angels warring against Esau, which is Rome's military might. Heaven here means the place of authority and power. Stars and angels oftentimes mean men. So the true meaning of Jude 1 and 6, right, goes into, let's get into Hebrews 6 and 6. If they shall fall away, to renew them again unto repentance, seeing they crucified to themselves the Son of God, Yahweh afresh, and put him unto the open shame. When you go into these strange doctrines and you believe them, you're literally casting out Yahweh's repentance and who he came for, and you're taking that and it's blasphemy for real, right? So Jude 1 and 6 is speaking about men who fell away from the truth. It's not talking about angels and referring back to the devil and Satan and Lucifer, as you think in Isaiah 14 in verse 12. Just like that verse, if you read up to verse 4, it's talking about a man, the king of Babylon, falling from a place of authority, recognition, prominent. It's also talking in Jude 1 and 6, the context of men who fell away from the truth. That was their first mistake. They were 10 toes down. And that's why Jude is warning about other men crept in unaware who are trying to usurp their false doctrines and ideologies and sift brothers and sisters and Israelites out of the truth, right? Heavenly Jerusalem is a spiritual position, all right? Those in the truth are spiritually in heavenly Jerusalem. Falling from this estate means departing from the faith. Hebrews 12 and 22 to 23. But ye are coming to Mount Zion and unto the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem. You have to understand. And to an innumerable company of angels, other Israelites, messengers, right? To the general assembly of the church, which is the context of the firstborn, which are written in heaven. Hopefully we have our names written in that book, right? And to God, the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men made perfect by Shema Mashiach Wamalak Yahushua. Philippians 3 and 20. For our conversation is in heaven. How? Does this mean we're literally in heaven right now in a celestial place speaking conversations? No. Our conversation is in the laws, the statutes, the commandments, the heavenly things, right? From whence also we look for the Savior, the Lord Hamashiach Yahushua. Strong's G4 175. Conversation, Greek, palatuma, citizenship, commonwealth, our community. So our citizenship is in heaven. This is figuratively speaking about our spiritual position with Yahweh and Yahushua. All right. So with that, I want to end with the key insight. Jude 1 and 6 is not speaking about supernatural angels falling from the literal heaven. The scriptures use heaven, stars, and angels parabolically to describe positions of authority and righteous men. Those who kept not their first estate are Israelites who fell away from the truth, leaving their spiritual position in the assembly of Yahweh. This interpretation is consistent throughout the scripture. With that, I'm going to give all glory, praises, and honor to the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so by Shema Mashiach Wamalak Yahushua to the 12 tribes that scattered abroad. Greetings. Om Yashua.